Hey guys, it's Jess of Roots and Refuge Farm. I'm sitting at my kitchen table right now and I'm about to head outside and take you with me. But first, I wanted to tell you what you can expect from our channel in the coming weeks. We've had this YouTube channel going for a couple years, but we've really never put a lot on it, just a few videos here and there. However, we are really taking the leap into regular vlogging. We've kept up with an Instagram and I've shared our daily life and our projects and our children and our endeavors to become more sustainable in producing food. But I'm a little limited on 15-second clips on my Instagram stories, and I've had so many people tell me, hey, we would love to see a YouTube channel. So here we are. I am going to be starting regular uploads of kind of just what we have going on, just, you know, life with lots of kids on a small farm. It is the busy season for sure. We've got lots of goats that have just kidded and are starting in milk. We have our big garden that we've been putting in. We have lots of chickens. So there's definitely a lot going on around here, and we're really looking forward to sharing it with you. First, I'm gonna take you outside now, and we're just gonna walk around and I'll give you a tour of our farm and introduce you to whoever it is we might come across on the walk. All right, let's go check it out. Hey y'all. So here are a few boys in the kitchen or in the living room. This is Toby in the front doing a little jig. There's Jackson, wave Jack, and here's Asher, and they are currently having their rest time watching a movie in the living room. So we're gonna mosey on past them and I'm gonna head outside. See y'all later. Bye, 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 bye. I just walked out the front door and we're going to start the tour. Now, right over there on the other side of those trees, that's where my in-laws live. My mother-in-law, Jana, my sister-in-law, Michaela, and my brother-in-law, Noah. Noah and Michaela you're gonna see a lot of because they are actually employed by our family. We all kind of work together. Michaela actually works here as a nanny for my kids because I travel with ministry, so I spend a good bit of time out of town, and so she helps on the daily schedule because one, I'm working on the farm, also we homeschool, and so we work together with the kids on that regard, and then she kind of holds down the fort with the kids whenever I have to go out of town during the day whenever Jeremiah is working. So you'll see a good deal of her. And then Noah also, he's 18 and he works for our lawn care business, so you'll see him around the farm as well. And then of course Jana, my mother-in-law, she is a nurse full-time, but she loves doing the farm. This is kind of a dream come true being realized for her, and so you'll see a lot of her in our videos as well. I told you we have a big family. I just published a video last night about the trellises in our garden because we've used a lot of cattle panels as trellises. Already I've been starting to get questions about this, so I'm going to briefly tell you about this garden space. This is all really new. We figured out pretty quickly after moving into our house that gardening in the ground here wasn't going to be an option. We are sitting on almost entirely clay and shale, and it is not friendly for growing food. Now, obviously, bringing soil in and building the beds to hold it is expensive. So we've been here for 3 years, and this is our first year to have a sizable garden. Everything we've done up until this point has been in small beds up by the house or containers. In order to build these beds on a budget, we actually bought these cedar trimmings from a local mill. It's actually, I think we drove about an hour and a half or so away from here to pick these up. We got a whole trailer of this stuff for 75 bucks, and we were able to trim all of these beds. Here in the middle, that's used tin. Jeremiah picked it up off of different jobs. We just collected it over the last couple of years, and some of it is this commercial tin, some of it is just regular used corrugated tin, and it's worked awesome. We're actually going to build another bed here in a couple weeks, and I will make sure to do a video of a step-by-step how we've done this from the beginning, so you're not just seeing the finished product. Now you'll see here cedar stumps. We cut these down out of the woods. Some of them are not cedar. We started just cutting trees down in the woods, and that was awesome. It was free. It was here on our property. It was also very time consuming. So we found someone who was selling these 6-foot cedar stumps that we were able to split in half and use for these. I think they were just a couple bucks each, and we ended up going and buying a trailer load of those also. The soil was the most expensive part of putting this garden in. We got 3 truckloads, which equated roughly 45 yards of soil. That's a lot. We got 2 truckloads of topsoil and 1 of this stuff called super soil, which is composted dirt and sand mixture. They're mixed in here together, and that ran us roughly $850 for those 3 truckloads, and that was a really good deal. We called all over the place in order to get that deal. If you're wondering how much planting space we have here, currently with what is built, we have about 800 square feet of garden space. These long beds are 48 by 4 feet, roughly. Using rough materials like this means you don't always get exact measurements. Down here on the end, we have 5 4x4 beds. And down on the other end, we have one that's 22 feet long and one that's 26 feet long. We're actually planning on filling in the rest of this fence space with raised garden beds like this. But it's probably going to take us a year or 2 to get that to the fullness of where we're envisioning it. This much garden space is going to grow a lot of food. Most people probably wouldn't need to plant this big of a garden. However, like I said, we have a huge family, not just our family, but our extended family. We also run a farmer's market booth, and we provide food to a few local families. And my goal is not to just supplement our food. I want to be able to grow enough that I can can our spaghetti sauce and our salsa and our pickles and that sort of thing for the entire year. So yes, this was a big undertaking, and we're thinking big. We might not be to the scale we want to be yet, but this is a huge step in the right direction. Right past the garden here is one of our chicken yards. Let's go in and I'll introduce you to our reds. Over the winter, I found a deal on a local Facebook livestock group where someone was offloading a whole bunch of commercial red layers that were going through their first molt for $1 a piece. So we went and bought 50 of them. The only problem was they were sick. Actually, had I known how sick they were, I would have never bought them. But I didn't figure it out until the guys brought them home, and at that point there was only one thing to do: get them well. So that's what I did. Through a course of antibiotics and doctoring them up naturally with different herbs and remedies, we ended up with this very healthy flock of commercial red layers. They didn't lay hardly anything the first couple of months that we had them, but now they consistently lay large brown eggs every single day, and I'm really glad to have them. They live here in this coop. We call it the coop in the woods because it is. And they consistently fill the nest boxes every day. They rarely go broody, but occasionally they do, like this one. And they lay these big, nice eggs. As you can see from this coop, you can see the garden. There's the house. There are more chickens over there. And we're about to walk right back here. There are about 2 acres back here in the woods, behind the coop in the woods. And we are planning on eventually fencing all of this in, and we'll keep goats over here. Right now, it's currently not being used. I'm clearly not wearing the right shoes for this. Okay, so in our videos, you're gonna see random piles of crap around our property, like these pipes. That's because when we find things for free, we bring it home. Which might seem a little bit silly until you need to build raised garden beds and you have a huge pile of tin you've been collecting for 2 years. I've just come through the gate to the backyard from the woods, and as you can see, the grass here is really high. It won't be that way for long though, because we're getting ready to allow some of our goats access to this pasture. Currently, the only thing in this yard is chickens. Several of them. This is where the colorful egg layers stay. There was a point that we were trying to breed chickens, self-hatching eggs and that sort of thing, but we've recently kind of just moved away from that, deciding to focus more on food sustainability rather than anything like that. But because at one point we were breeding, we have these really awesome breeding pens that we built. Currently they are empty, and I think that we're going to move to using this area for broody moms and for growing out chicks that we allow broody moms to hatch. This is our little hospital coop. It stays empty unless we have someone that is in need of medical attention, at which point we use this for isolation. Our chickens are considered free range, however, because we have so many in such a small space, we don't actually rely on their free ranging for any of their nutrition. We still feed them a mix of fermented grains as well as kitchen scraps, garden extras, pretty much anything that we can get our hands on to alleviate the food bill, and I'll cover that in a later video. However, they are able to get out and kind of free range where they want, which means they end up a lot of times where we don't want them, like in the garage on the tools. We've even had them occasionally end up in the house. They pretty much kind of stick to their flock, the colorful egg layers back here, and then all the commercial reds out in the barn coop. However, they do cross mingle, and we don't really do anything to keep that from happening. They just go back to bed where we've originally put them. We do clip their wings to kind of deter them from hopping over fences and going off into the woods and getting eaten by predators. It doesn't always work, but we do try at least to keep them somewhat contained where we put them. That's just kind of chicken keeping though. They don't always do that. Okay, so here is what we call the back chicken yard. That's where I've been showing you. You can see over there all those trees. Those are the empty woods where we are eventually going to keep goats. Back behind this property, our property goes back about 100 feet, and there is a semi-fenced in area there that we're going to continue with as soon as the resources open up for us to continue that fencing, and that is where we're going to keep a couple of hogs, but we're not there yet. On this pasture back here next door, that's the back couple of acres of Jana's property, and that's where our horses are right now. We're hoping that that's temporary, and we're looking for another solution because it's not really enough space for 5 horses, and it's costing a lot in hay to keep them over there. However, it's just kind of the circumstance right now, and they're staying healthy. It's just expensive. Okay, through this gate from the chicken yard is the goat yard, which you can see right now doesn't have any goats in it. That's because we've let them through to the backyard because it needed mowing, and goats are good for eating grass. They'll probably come running when they realize that I'm in their yard because they're going to think that I'm gonna have something good for them to eat, especially if I come and stand next to the feeder. Yep, here they come. We're actually planning a collab right now with some other awesome farms, and I'm gonna be sharing about our goat herd and how we care for them extensively. That should be up here in about a week and a half or 2. So make sure you check back, and I'll tell you all about our daily goat routine. Right now, I'll tell you just really briefly about our herd. We have 14 adult goats. 13 of them are Nubians. And this year we had 12 kids. We bought a couple of bucklings to bring in some new breeding stock. The only goat we have that are not Nubians is this little fawn one right here. This is Maggie. She was my first goat. We keep goats for dairy purposes only. We currently have not raised them to eat them for meat. It has simply been to milk them and to use their milk for making cheese and yogurt, kefir, that kind of thing. That's why we chose Nubians, because they have such high butter fat, and I really loved the way they look, and I love their quirky personalities. Here we've got a couple of new mamas in the kidding stalls. Hey, Nestle. She's got a kid behind her there. And over here is Pesky. These two were our last to kid this year. They both gave birth within the last week, so they're still isolated. Soon we'll move them out with the herd, and we're actually going to be moving some things around, and I'll show you guys that later. Here's Dakota. He's our Great Pyrenees that guards our goatee girls for us. Oh, and here's Chuck Norris. He is our new livestock guardian puppy. He is only 8 months old, but he's growing up and being trained. He's doing a good job. All right, in this yard right off the back of the house, we call this the human yard because that's what we intended this to be used for. The only animals that are routinely in this space, I know we've got goats all in here today, but we just give them access to this a couple of days every few weeks because they keep the grass down. But generally it's just the dogs and our pig. So this is Jackson, and this is Journey, his pet pig. He got her as a birthday gift last year, and he takes great care of her, don't you, Jack? Yeah. And he loves having a pet pig. She's really sweet. She's a potbelly pig. We got at the local sale barn, and she's turned out to be a really cool little pet. So that's what we've got going on. That's pretty much our farm in a nutshell. Obviously there's a lot more to it, but that's the introduction to most of the kids. I don't know where Jeremiah is right now. He's somewhere around here working on something, but I think I must have been missing him as I made my rounds. Our big garden, our large chicken collection, and our goat herd. I'll have to introduce you to our horses at a later time. And like I said, we've got some really cool videos on the horizon telling you about how we do things more extensively. And we're also going to be sharing just our daily life with regular daily vlogs. So we look forward to getting to know you guys and sharing our fun farm life with you. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye. Here's our runaway couple. This rooster and this guinea take off together. I find them coming back down the road all the time. People just don't understand their love.